Thank you for watching this video. This is an introduction of our project we made for ECE 373 course. So the idea of this GUI is to represent the setup of a game center. On the left, we have these classes, and just for a brief introduction, the players can play games by joining a room or play a console. A room would cost 2 tokens, and a console game would cost 1 token. And the game manager is needed for every room in order to launch a game. If the room doesn't have a game manager, it cannot start the game. And the head managers are in charge of assigning different game managers to each room. And each game room needs more than 2 players, less than 4 players, in order for the game to start. And in order to start the game, it needs to have a game manager. After the game is stopped, each player gets 10 reward points because they finished a game. When the game manager closes the game, all players and the game manager will leave the room automatically, and their status changes from being in the room to idle. A player can also play the game console if he chooses to. Only one player can be playing the same console at the same time. The redeem vending machine has a list of gifts. A player can buy these gifts by spending their reward points. And the player can also buy token from the token vending machine. Now I'm going to test the functionalities of my GUI. As you can see, the file has load, save, print all, and exit options. The save is for saving information, and load will load information from the system. And exit is, if we click on exit, we will just exit the GUI. These functions have been taught in class and have been done in homeworks, so I will not be showing these functionalities right here. If we click on the print all, we can see the information about the token vending machine, redeem vending machine, head manager, game manager, players, game rooms, and game consoles right here. As you can see right now, these players have 10 tokens, and player 1, player 5, and player 6 doesn't have any tokens. But right now I will be testing the buy token function that is written right here. So the player can either join room, leave room, play console, leave console, buy token, redeem, and this print all will just print information for all players like this. So if the player wants to buy token, and I want to buy token for player 1, we're buying from vending machine 1, we're buying 10 tokens. It will say it has successfully bought the token. So if I print information, you can see that now the player 1 has 10 tokens instead of 0 tokens, and his money has decreased. Okay. Now that player 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 all have tokens, we will try to add these players into a room. To test the join room, we are going to add the player 1 to room 100. It will say player 1's status changes from idle to playing in room 100. Okay, so now we add player 2 to the same room. Okay, so now player 2 is in the room. And we add player 3 to room 100. And we add player 4 to the same room. It will say player cannot join this room because of age limitations. That is because this game room has age limitation of 18, while that player's age is below 18. So that's why this error showed up. Okay, So now if we do the print all, we can see that, hey, right now room 100 is no longer empty. It has 3 players. As I've mentioned, we need at least 2 players and less than 4 players to start the game. So right now we can start the game at room 100, but we still need a game manager to do that. So our head manager will assign a game. So the head manager's name will be HM1. Yeah, HM1. And game manager ID would be 1. Assign him to room 100. Okay, so now the game manager is in charge of this room. If the head manager tries to assign the same game manager to a different room, for example, room 101, it will say this game manager is not available. Okay, so game manager can start the game. Oh, yeah, so his name is not actually 1, it's game manager 1. Okay, so the game has been started, right? So he can close the game. The game has been closed, right? So if we do the print all, we can see that these players, because they've played the game, they now have reward points. So because they now have reward points, they can start to buy gifts from the redeem vending machine. So let's say we want to buy a Coke. So right here, the player is going to redeem. So the player name, say, is player 1, and the vending machine ID would be 1, and the good name is a Coke. Okay, so now that he has brought a Coke, and we did do the print all again, we can see that now the count of the Coke has decreased from 12 to 11, right? And this person, player 1, has a Coke, the price of which is 10. So his reward points changes from 10 back to 0. So at any point, if we enter the wrong string, for example, the head manager's name should be HM1, right? So if I enter 1 and game manager ID is 1, room is 100, it will say the head manager 1 does not exist, right? So there's an error whenever your input isn't correct. Okay, so the player can also play the console. Say if the player 2 wants to play the console number 200, right? And he can play on this console. If another player wants to play the same console, say player 1, right? He wants to play console 200. It will say player 2 is playing on this console, so player 1 cannot play, right? So let's say player 2 wants to leave the console. Player 2 wants to leave the console. Now, if we try to add people to play this console, we are able to do that. But remember that the console has age limitations. For example, game console 200 has a limitation of 18 years old. So let's go ahead and make sure that our player... Okay, so our player 4 and 5 all have enough... Okay, so our player 4 has enough token to play, right? So if we try to let our player 4 to play the console 200, it will say that player 2 cannot play because of age limitations. Yeah, so that's about all the functionalities I have right here for my GUI. And we've also written this driver file that if we run it, okay, we can see that if player 1 wants to join the room while he doesn't have any token, it will say he can't do that. If player 1 wants to buy 101 token from the vending machine, since we know that the vending machine only has it has 100 tokens from the beginning, so it doesn't have 101, so it will say there's not enough token. And also these I've already shown. If a player is already playing another game, he can't start to play a new game. He has to quit the old game first. Okay, so right now I will test one last functionality that I forgot to test. So I will use print all to see. Okay, so my game room 2 is empty, right? So 101 is empty. And who has the money? Who has the token? Okay, player 1 has the token. Okay, so if I add player 1 to room 101, say, okay. Right now, if the head manager assign the same game manager to that room, okay. So if this head game manager try to start the game, it will say, because there is only one player in that room, it will say that we need more than 2 players to launch the game. So once again, thank you for watching this video.